when I was, just getting started, I absolutely had no clue about how to build a business. I'm not sure if that helped me or not. No business school, because when you start startup, you can throw away any business school textbook. My biggest inspiration was just the huge drive about what we can do with this tech. And that basically you're non-restricted about any rules, what you should do. You're just thinking about, okay, that's the problem, we're going to solve it.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Tigran, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, excited to be here, Sylvan.
You're the co-founder and CEO at SuperAnnotate, an AI-powered annotation tool for various machine learning applications. And you're originally from Armenia. And it was there when you completed your bachelor's in physics. And then you actually decided to come to Switzerland to study there for your master's. So I was wondering, what drew you to Switzerland besides the studies?
Yeah, it's always, especially if you're in that part of the world in Armenia, it's always very exciting to study abroad, because if you really want to move forward professionally, be in a top place, this is, Switzerland is really an amazing place to study, especially the institute I was brought into, ETH Zurich, was an incredible place that once I realized how great it is in terms of how much I can learn, the people there, the renowned professors, it kind of was no-brainer for me, and I got a scholarship from some of the local foundations in Armenia that was very helpful for my studies, because it's extremely difficult if you really want to study abroad from there without any support. So that kind of was very helpful for me. That drove me to Switzerland basically for my master studies.
And after your master's, you continued your journey in Switzerland. You started your PhD in biomedical imaging and photonics at the University of Bern. But then you decided to quit just before graduating to start your company, SuperAnnotate. Why did you decide to quit so close to the finish line?
When I was doing my PhD, I was always fascinated by how AI is transforming the world. Especially in biomedical imaging, which was my area. I was constantly looking at how AI was basically transforming healthcare space, the diagnostics, how AI is making diagnostics much easier, much faster, more accurate, and how eventually that can transform the whole healthcare space. Even during the PhD, I was invited to give a speech in one of the TEDx conferences locally in Lucerne, and my topic was actually, are you safe from automation? At the time was very early to talk about it. And I was talking about how radiologist's job can be replaced by AI, and that's actually a good thing. It can make it easier to do, diagnostics for different diseases. So, but my story is also very tightly connected to my brother, who was at the same time working on his PhD program in Sweden on machine learning, image segmentation. And his algorithm became kind of well known about how accurate and fast it can determine objects to the edges. To accelerate labeling process, he built a simple prototype. So at the time, we were kind of in the same line of whether we should create our own company. We got some interest from different companies to acquire the tech in our space. Funny enough, we decided to go to some startup competition just to fake as if we're already a company. And I'm the CEO, he's the CTO. Basically, we pitched our product, and then eventually we won that whole competition. And then realized actually, cool. We realized that, okay, there's much bigger than something we're doing here. So there was some investors' interest to something that didn't exist yet. We actually decided to really do that. And this was actually the point that I thought, okay, I'm quitting PhD. It was so much kind of excitement in our head that we can do something new together with my brother. And we were always very close. And this was an also opportunity to come together again. So yeah, that was the very quick, non-rational decision at that time that turned out to be the second best decision of my life, after I met my wife, of course.
Absolutely. And I like this. You got the first validation basically by this startup competition. You and your brother, already being close from the past, obviously, and then deciding to start this company together. Did you have any other influences like role models or anyone else who sort of inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Because you're both going down the research path, right? By doing the PhD. So starting a company might not be the first natural thing that comes out of that. So did you have any role models, other people who inspired you to become entrepreneurs, or was that just something that has always been in you for all these years?
Yeah, that's very interesting. When I was, just getting started, I absolutely had no clue about how to build a business. I'm not sure if that helped me or not. No business school, because when you start startup, you can throw away any business school textbook. My biggest inspiration was just, the huge drive about what we can do with this tech. And that basically you're non-restricted about any rules, what you should do. You're just thinking about, okay, this is a problem, we're going to solve it. At the same time, from my home country, we had a few successful startup stories, some friends who were doing startups, and that kind of also have had us like, okay, what it looks like, right? What it is, what it ultimately can become. And eventually learning more about this, that kind of triggered us to go to that path. But it's a very interesting transition. The accelerator we were, once we started the company, was very transformative for us. The Berkeley's Skydeck accelerator, that basically helped us a lot about how to build startup, how to build a team, what is important from like go-to-market strategy, customer development, the product development, well, all aspects of startup.
Right. And you co-founded the company with your brother. Some people have the strong take and say never ever get family involved in your business. You did the opposite. So what makes you a good team, and why did you decide to actually start a company together to take it to the next level?
Yeah, I think this was just that coincidence about us going to that startup competition. We just wanted to go back home and have some rest in this very nice lakeside environment in the tents. That was the kind of setup at that time. You can trust each other. That's the main part, right? No matter what happens, we know that we'll make it through. So that basically happened. Of course, there are a lot of challenges. And number one reason why startups fail is mostly like co-founder relationships. And if we wouldn't be brothers, probably we wouldn't exist, because brotherhood makes you rethink every single challenge that you're having to make sure that it's going to work no matter what. Because if you lose the brotherhood, you lose the company, and then this both kind of mixes together. So you always think, okay, we have to make it work. There's no other option, and we always find a solution.
So the stakes are higher to a certain degree, because it's not only the business that could fail, but also your personal relationship to your brother. And you say that this actually leads you to make better decisions in the end.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about it, right, there's let's say some go-to-market strategy or vision what we want to build. We discuss extensively. Let's say we don't agree on certain things. The idea is, okay, if we ultimately split on directions, the company will fail, and then at the same time, brothership can fail as well. So when you have that choice, it's so bad. When you think about it, you're like, okay, I have to make it work, and he thinks he has to make it work. We always have great people, that's also a great part about it. Eventually we brought investors, some other kind of late co-founders and executives to our company that brought like a new voice to our processes, decision-making process. And we heard their opinions as well. That always helped us to kind of, not very much depend on each other eventually, but also listening to others who are in this game.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to talk about the PhD as a basis for creating a company. So the algorithms that your brother Vahan was developing in his PhD then became the basis of what was to be SuperAnnotate, the company. So how did the two of you actually know that the research was ready to be made a business out of? Because I imagine that's something that many people struggle, many researchers struggle to say, I found something new, this new technology, this new algorithm, whatever it might be, but how do you then translate that into a business and actually start a company? That is a big step, right?
Yeah. It doesn't happen like right away, to be honest. So basically, initially, like once my brother was developing it, you realize, okay, let's try to do apply this to like image editing software like Photoshops and others like PixArt. We realized there's not a huge opportunity there. And then, usually you do research, you talk to some people. We were also very lucky that the university my brother was in, the KTH in Sweden, had a great innovation center that actually saw some interesting opportunity and had some consultants who could give some advice early on directly as part of the university research. And then eventually we started to learn more and more and saw that opportunity in this machine learning image annotation space, which was a very niche use case for data annotation. And, as everything in startups, it starts on small and then in small area, you have some technology advantage in our case. And then we expanded to a much larger, data management and building platform for AI. So basically, we eventually learned in the span of probably 1 year before. And me and my brother would constantly talk about this 1 hour, 2 hour after work, because I was just for me, it was so difficult to focus on my own research when I saw that there was something very exciting on the side with my brother's research. And even, when I have to think about finishing my PhD, I would just think all the time about what we could do business side and how we can bring that technology to the world. And actually that didn't even allow me to finish my PhD. And I realized, okay, I personally just can't do it. So I have to quit.
I like that a lot because it feels very natural the way that you describe it, right? This was just your natural curiosity. You saw your brother's research, basically the algorithm, and that just draw your attention and your energy. And to fight against that natural curiosity is probably a very bad suggestion to do. So that was then just a logical conclusion. You stop your PhD and you work on what truly intrinsically motivates and interests you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Sometimes you have to make those hard decisions. And I remember, of course, my colleagues and everyone I know in Switzerland was like, "Are you crazy? How you can do that?" And but it was the call of the heart, and I can even see like 10 moments why we would fail in the process, not because of my brother relationship, but just basically you need more funding, you need more resources, you build something that may not work out, bringing the right people. There could be a lot of things that just couldn't work out, but I still would do it because that experience you're getting as you build your own company, it's just invaluable. It's like years of experience you would get elsewhere, very dense within a matter of a few years.
Absolutely. And I also want to talk about what you actually do. So if you had to explain that to a lay person, someone who does not know much about AI, what exactly does SuperAnnotate do and why is it useful?
Yeah, so if as you said, if I try to explain in a very simple way, if you think about, let's say, a child who was born and start to, learn about this world, right? Like their eyes eventually start to identify this is a bottle of water, or this is a person, there's a car in the street, or this is a tree. But it doesn't come right away, right? Someone tells them in many different situations what is what, and then children eventually learn about it. Maybe neural networks doesn't work exactly the same way as the child brain, but the principle is the same. This machine learning models that we keep hearing, especially lately, they require a lot of data, human supervision, to basically learn about this world. If you think about autonomous driving or autonomous cars, they have cameras who identify what are the objects around that lets them kind of do some maneuvering in the streets. And we are the company who provides that data, let's call it training data, annotations, there's many terms, that lets those companies to build those AI models. And we're not only providing those annotations on images, text files, you have Alexa that identifies your voice. There are sentiment analysis use cases. There are so many different areas that currently AI is being part of. We're also providing those companies to manage those data sets, version them, to get the right analytics that helps them to know what to label next so their model gets better. And of course, finding mistakes in their models and data sets that may not contribute to the betterment of the model. So we eventually became this full end-to-end AI data management platform and infrastructure to build various machine learning applications, starting from that specific image segmentation tech.
And what would you say are the most relevant industries for you? Do you see any cluster in your clients that use your services the most?
Interestingly enough, healthcare space become one of the key industries we work in heavily. Big tech companies, Samsung's, IBM's, and other big companies that they have tons of machine learning projects. And we work with many projects that they build any AI applications. Robotics type of applications applied in agricultural tech. You can think of any robots that go around the field, or drone or satellite images that try to analyze field information to make decisions. So these are just a few industries we feel kind of really strong at. Aerial imagery applications from satellite images. They try to look at various images from space and make some analytics automatically. These are just some that I can just put out.
Nice. And how does your business model look like? Do you have a traditional subscription, or do you have a volume-based pricing, or how does it work, your business model?
Yeah, it's basically a subscription. You get a platform for a year, and that includes certain amount of data that you can create, whether through us or as a platform through your people. We also have this marketplace of teams all across the world that have different skill sets. So we bring the right team to the right client to do the labeling, and then we manage and guarantee the quality of the data. So basically, they commit for a year about this much data with the platform. And then once it's done, we basically, sign a new contract about the new type of commitment on the data they want to continue doing.
Got it. And how do you acquire customers these days? Is it a mix between inbound interest because you solve a really relevant problem for them, or do you have to really build up your own sales force to do outbound sales? How do you acquire your customers? And how has that also shifted from the early days until today?
We basically do a lot of things at the same time. So one of the main drivers is the inbound, basically content marketing. We write a lot of content articles about this that brings a lot of attention to our website. the search engine optimization, of course, trying to make sure that people find us through search engine. We do webinars, basically talking about different problems around data. I started a little podcast series as well lately. So we're trying to kind of really make sure that we're the thought leaders in this space, especially when it comes to the quality of the data, which is the main driver about how you improve your model performance. And we keep hammering that all the time in everywhere to make sure that people understand we're the quality people in terms of when it comes to the data building. We also have our outbound motion. So we have people who reach out to relevant ideal customers that we may think of as companies, and then try to show the value to them. And then there's also some account-based marketing activities, just kind of content combined with outbound workforce to kind of make sure that when people come to us or when we reach out to them, they already know about us.
So it's really this closely knitted work between marketing to build the brand and the reputation, then having a sales team in place to do outbound, but to also close the deals that marketing generates, basically.
Yeah, exactly. All the deals that are being generated through these channels goes to our account executives team, sales team, and then actually take that from there. And we have solutions engineering team that goes into the deep technical problems with our customers. So that's kind of the whole chain. That wasn't built, of course, right away. We have had a lot of iterations to understand what actually works, and we still do. There's no like single magic formula that says, okay, this is the most perfect way of doing this. And the general data science, machine learning space is also generally a new space. And it also goes through quite some development stages all the time.
Got it. And, we heard in your story, you studied in Switzerland, your brother was in Sweden, but now you're in the United States. So going international has been on your to-do list basically since the start. I think your company's even headquartered in the US these days. So how did you manage this transition to go from Europe to the United States and build and expand the business there? How was that journey for you? Because I imagine that can be quite a big challenge. Everything is different. Even the legal system is different. Customer acquisition is different. So how did you manage that to go to the US?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When we started the company, basically there was no question that we need to be in the US, in the Silicon Valley, in the center where the tech world is developing, being in this epicenter. First, we went to the accelerator program there that was huge, that had a huge impact to us in terms of really understanding whether it's illegal, how it is to do a business in the US, getting to some early customers and how it is to work with them and the contract, etc. So it was also a very conscious decision for us to move to US because it's just the customers are just there. And if you want to build a very international company where you want to grab the US market, you have to be there. And we realized that early on. And no matter what kind of challenges it can incur, there was no question that we shouldn't do that. Of course, that's a little bit challenging transition, but quite quickly you learn and we made a lot of hires here and kind of set up and expanded.
You talked about the Berkeley's Skydeck accelerator program that was sort of your launch pad into the US market. Is there anything else that helped you to really get started, or is that really the best strategy to go early, to go into an acceleration program, and then you can take it yourself from there?
This is certainly probably a huge, very, very important part of moving to the US, especially early on when me and my brother, we were just research scientists. We had absolutely no clue about how to build a startup and business. And having the right people that can always advise what to do, that have gone through that path. I had a few friends that was giving me some good advice, and actually at the beginning really being a bit humbled, really understanding and knowing that, okay, I don't know anything, just please help me. Because I know that for some people, especially when you start a little bit successful, you feel like at the beginning as a startup, it kind of gets, people might get a little bit more hyped and think of they know everything, but it's not the case. So having the right people, friends who can give the right advice. Also investors. I mean, our early investors also, they have seen this path before, so they could let us know what's right, what's wrong, how to kind of move that, and from 0 to 1. Another, probably, like if I think about it back, one of our early investors, this deep belief that, guys, you're gonna make it. There's no other chance. You're gonna raise your seed round. You're gonna build a team. There's no other way of going, and that gave us also that confidence. The bar was set so high for us, and we kind of couldn't even see those problems going there. We would just go there. That was very helpful for us, of course.
Did that mindset also help? It seems to be a very different mindset compared to Europe, where we think a bit differently about these things. Has this mindset also helped you to successfully raise your funds? You raised, I think, according to Crunchbase, 17.5 million so far in 4 rounds. Has this also been helpful to really get the right investors on board and to keep the business going and win the investors over?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that early confidence that you're going to make it, and building that story, that when you talk to investors, they see the drive in your eyes, what you're building, right? You're so excited about the tech, and you know what it can do. Investors see that, okay, these folks, they're not joking, and they're very committed, especially when they left their PhDs. Basically, it shows how much dedication those young scientists can have on building this. So this certainly helps a lot.
Absolutely. And I wonder, you have lived in Europe, your brother too. Is there something that you miss in the United States that you enjoyed in Europe, especially business-wise, things that are done differently or in a better way from your perspective?
Yeah, from right now, I have actually a business team in Europe. They're in different countries, in Ireland, Spain, in Germany, so many parts of the Europe. What I'm missing is, it's a, of course, different environment. The culture is different. Where I spend a lot of time, I have a lot of friends there that I'm missing. In terms of doing business, we do business with Europe quite extensively. So I'm kind of getting into that, which makes me very, very excited. What I'm missing is that ability to, in Switzerland was so easy to just go anywhere in the Europe and have some rest and, enjoy some really beautiful views in Italy, and do hiking in Switzerland, go to skiing here and there. This is something that I very much miss in Switzerland and generally in Europe, especially as you're starting to build a startup company. The time becomes very limited about how much free time you can take on those kind of vacations. I'm doing my best, but this mountainous hiking adventures that I used to have in Switzerland, this is probably the biggest part of what I'm missing.
Fair point. And you are now calling from Miami. So I was also wondering, you started out in Silicon Valley, but now you're in Miami. Is that the new place to be, or why did you decide to move to Miami?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I went to the Valley, it was just before the pandemic started. and things closed down. I mean, I started there. I was working remotely with the whole team in Armenia, in Europe. It was very heavy in terms of the time difference. I had to start super early in the morning and stay late nights just to kind of adapt to that time difference, like 12-hour difference with the place where I have the core team. So the main reason of move was this, making it easier to lead the team with US, with Armenia, with Europe time-wise. We also have a team in Bangladesh. And eventually, I was thinking about East Coast, and I was kind of used to the warm weather. So Miami became like an option for me, especially seeing so many other startup founders moving there. But I have to say, I mean, it's still a good tech scene, but San Francisco is getting its vibe back in terms of, startups, fundraising, investors, that hype, especially after those ChatGPT AI type of applications come in. So I try to constantly travel there and be part of that ecosystem.
Perfect. And last question about the US topic. Have you ever regretted moving to the US? Was there any point where you said, I shouldn't have done that. I wish I'd be back in Europe. Has there ever been any regret in that regard?
No, actually, I never thought about, regretting it. One thing about, US, I love US. Generally for business, I think it's an amazing country. If you've been build talent, business, go-to-market strategy, finding customers, and just this is probably the best place to be when it comes to that. So no regret at all. Of course, one thing to think about for me is like, I've never been attached to a specific place in terms of living, right? I spent most of my life in Armenia. I was born there. I was raised there, studied there. Always wanted to expand my horizon because it was, you get very limited experience in terms of, life and knowledge. And then Switzerland was the perfect place to be. But at the same time, Switzerland was also not, I have to admit, I very much wanted to live there. And, I loved the environment, the beauty and everything comes with the lifestyle and quality of life. But eventually I realized that that doesn't touch very deeply to my heart. I really kind of needed to expand a little bit more. And the US was also a perfect place. But overall, it's not like there's one specific place that tells me like, okay, I have to just be here. I could easily live in any part of the world, do my business, and just live my life. But Switzerland gave me so much development in terms of like personal, professional way that it's gonna be part of myself every time I think about it. Yeah.
That's great to hear. And now, if you look where SuperAnnotate stands today, you serve over 200 companies, including 20% of the Fortune 20. You are headquartered in the US. So what is next? What are the next milestones that you want to tackle with your business?
Yeah. So in terms of like the product, right? Like we're heavily addressing the data side of the AI. Eventually, we plan to move towards more MLOps, machine learning operations side of things, like understanding how to build models, how to expand models, addressing different types of MLOps pipelines, whether it comes to doing experiments with MLs, how we expand to these large language models and generally these large models that are a very big part of AI system right now, and how we address that not only from the data side, but also data management side, where data scientists spend most of their time understanding data and models. So this is a huge direction we're taking right now. And yeah, in terms of business, of course, we really want to expand to more customers, really expand to more teams in our current big enterprise customers, because interesting enough, not many people even know about such systems exist and how much they can help them to reduce their time to model, and really bring that awareness to companies that are just getting started with their AI. So we're very heavily focusing on that. We want to be in more conferences and give speeches about us, about our company, and kind of spread the word.
Amazing. It sounds like a very exciting but also busy future ahead of you. So to wrap up today's conversation, we also prepared some rapid fire questions for you. I give you two options to choose from, or give you a short question and you have to answer in one sentence. You ready?
Perfect. Yeah.
Physics or AI product building?
In terms of work, second, AI product building. Physics is my worldview. It's just part of me, so it's gonna stay there forever.
Nice. And what surprised you the most about Silicon Valley?
That everyone is just talking about tech, even the Uber driver.
Nice. Have you ever regretted not finishing your PhD?
After I finished, no, I've never regretted.
And how do you measure success?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? I feel like when I build something that customers love, people that are building are happy and excited about what they build, and I know that I can bring a positive impact to the world, make the world smarter and more sustainable. If I see that I'm pushing that direction, that journey is success to me.
Nice. I like that. That's the perfect way to end the conversation. Tigran, thank you so much for coming on the show. Lots of success and all the best for you, your brother, and SuperAnnotate, of course. And thank you again for your time today.
Thanks, Sylvan. Great talking to you and having all those nostalgic memories about Switzerland.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.